And finally, new rule, if you want the American dream, you have to take the American values. There's no bigger issue in electoral politics these days than immigration, and there's no doubt, at least in my mind, that both sides went to extremes. Biden's policy of open doors, and then Trump's policy of broken windows. Now, I'm on the page of America doing what it used to do so well, stealing hard-working, talented immigrants from around the world and making them Americans. But something has changed in the equation. Now, most immigrants still want to assimilate, but some now have this other attitude of melting pot. Fuck you, you melt. Look, you don't have to love everything about America. We don't. That's why Yelp was invented. But, you know, if you do get past ICE, America's actually pretty cool. We say you do you. Eat the food your grandma cooked. Speak another language at home. Celebrate religious holidays. We welcome your food, your art, your fashion, your first ladies. But you have to answer one question. Do you like Western civilization? Because that's what we are, and that's not negotiable. Let me ask our audience. Do you think gay rights is one of our values that's non-negotiable? Great, I'm going to hold you to it. A few weeks ago, a liberal Democrat named Melissa Chaudhry, running for Congress in Seattle, was asked why, among the many progressive causes listed on her website, LGBT rights was conspicuously absent. Because, she said, a lot of Muslims do not feel that way, unfortunately. Now, here's where liberal sphincters just tightened. Because they heard the word Muslim and have been brainwashed into thinking, oh, some Islamophobic bullshit is coming now. No, just facts and a little honesty to the people who see everything as oppressor versus oppressed, but can't see who actually does a lot of oppressing. So let me ask, is this the progressive policy now? Is Ms. Chaudhry right? We throw gay people under the bus anytime it clashes with what makes Muslims uncomfortable? Last month, a gay cruise ship with 2,000 passengers that was sailing the Mediterranean had to turn around and change course because Muslim countries wouldn't let it dock. They tried to get into Turkey, and Turkey was like, no homo. They tried Egypt. Nope, just straight denial. Now, this poor gay cruise ship couldn't find a home. It was like the Grindr version of the Odyssey. But happy ending, they eventually sailed on to Greece, where the Greeks said, are you kidding? We invented that ship. But I gotta say, you know, Egypt and Turkey, they have no problem saying, our culture, we just don't do that here. We need a little of that attitude here. How about homophobia? We just don't do that here. We will make you bake a wedding cake. But not everybody sees it this way. Linda Sarsour is a big progressive hero, and she says, our number one priority is our community. It is not to assimilate. Okay, but that's not really how immigration works. If I move to Japan, I don't get to say, okay, everybody, a couple of changes. First of all, shoes stay on in the house now. Also, no more tentacle porn, that's gone. Look, lots of people, not just Muslims, of course, do lots of fucked up shit. We don't have to go along with it. A number of cultures still practice marriage by capture. where if you fancy a gal, you simply abduct her and claim her as your fiancé. You may recall Borat tried it on Pamela Anderson. It's a real thing, and it's always a touching scene when the groom gets down on one knee and to propose, and the bride still has the bag over her head. Okay, but we don't do that here. Linda Sarsour was forced into an arranged marriage at 17, but defends the practice, saying it made her, quote, become mature much earlier in life. I'll bet. But here, we think that's a little too close to Epstein stuff. Honor killings, not letting women show their faces, polygamy, cousin fucking, female genital mutilation. There's lots of stuff we don't do here, and it's not negotiable, and it's not white values. These are liberal values. People fought and died to establish them, and it's not racist to say, if you want to come here to help form a more perfect union, great. But some things are too fundamental to change. The separation of religion and state, for example. And I would say the same thing to Christian nationalists. Democracy, not theocracy. Free speech, even about religion. Equal rights for women, LGBT, that's America. And none of this is available in Sharia law, which a third of British Muslims want to see be the law in England. And you can't have both. You can't have England and Sharia law. And the left's reaction to Islamification is, the worst that could happen from it is it will get right-wingers elected. Maybe, or maybe the worst that could come from it is in 20 years the UK is turning away gay cruise ships. Now, you can, and I'm sure some of you are, screaming Islamophobia, but that's just a bullshit word to cow people into not talking about this. This has nothing to do with non-whites becoming the majority. I don't give a shit about that. I don't give a shit about colors. White people, they're white, they're not pandas. I care about liberal values being replaced by illiberal ones. Last month, more than 70,000 Moroccan migrants breached the border and poured into a part of Spain called Ceuta. I feel for them, but I also understand why a lot of Europe freaked out about it. I sympathize with refugees, but when I see them interviewed, it's always, there's nothing here for me, the economy sucks, I don't see a future. I sympathize, but what you need is not asylum. What you need is LinkedIn. Build something in the country you live in. You got a bad economy? You know that cruise ship that couldn't dock? Do you have any idea how much money 2,000 drunk gay men would have spent in your beach town?